The three works which are currently installed in All Saints are part of our overall Lenten meditation. They're not intended to be merely pieces of decorative art, but to contribute to the worship environment. Each one requires participation either by inquiring and thoughtful observation, or, as in the case of Wound, by taking an active role in the ongoing developmental making stage of the work. Since we can no longer be present with the works, I'd like to offer a series of reflections on their contents, their context, and intended function within the Lenten period. So first of all, I'd like to talk about Wound itself. It's hard to ignore. A large painting of Christ's wounded body is stretched out on the floor as we enter the church. On first glance, it resembles a prayer station, part of a formal Lenten ritual perhaps, an iconic image which might function as a focus for meditation. But if we look closely, it's a brutal image. It interrupts the calm atmosphere of the space. It disrupts, emitting ripples of unease. The raw painted flesh is cruelly gashed by a stylized, dark, open wound, with thin trickles of blood running down into the cupped hand. This hand is the only part of the painting which supplies the viewer with a sense of something offered. It echoes the shape of the wound, but curves in the gentle gesture of the hand, which is both holding and giving. It's in strong contrast to the harshly described body. The latter makes a blunt statement, not camouflaged by delicacy of paint or distorted through gestural expression. The overall intention is to make the viewer address the physicality of Christ's suffering, and at the same time to see his death as our blessing, a gift. This seemingly contrary experience is developed even further through an interactive element, a collaborative intervention. Volunteers from All Saints participate in a weekly Lenten program of readings, music and prayer, whilst sewing drops of blood onto the 9-meter shroud attached to the painting. The process of working with the shroud demands little skill but total concentration. Sewing materials are supplied and examples of images of blood as visual references. But just 1 or 2 stitches of red cotton onto the white calico are enough to suggest a blood stain. Even more emotive is the actual process of piercing the fabric and pulling the red thread through it. It's a somber, devotional act, and the wound of Christ is ever present. The content of our weekly readings is orchestrated in response to Christ's last words from the cross. In this highly charged atmosphere, a sense of communality develops between us all. The intimacy of touching the shroud, the proximity of the painted flesh, the shared activity of this strange production line helps each participant to absorb the words and music. Sewing into a surface, every mark permeating, passing right through the cloth, is undertaken with total commitment to the task. And it's almost as if the meaning of Christ's passion is being pulled through the material, embedded in it, along with the thread, as if we're trying to help, to heal, to mend. Considering the ongoing climate of anxiety and isolation, it's a great example of our future potential in working together, harnessing and extending our individual creative sensibilities to try to arrive at a deeper understanding of God's love. Returning to Wound, to the way we look at this piece of art, which we're in the process of making together, I think it's clear that it isn't confined to appearance. It goes further because it becomes part of individual and shared experience. It embodies the particular and the collective experiences of everyone who takes part, on whatever level. The work in progress aspect can transport us beyond the role of mere observers to a position of active participation. Here in Lent, making our mark on the calico, we sow into the remembered future, where the shroud covers Christ's body. Our humbly offered red threads anticipate the drops of blood which soak onto the cloth as it brushes against his wounds when he's wrapped and laid in the tomb. This shroud, veil of mourning, this covering, this curtain of separation between death and life, is the cocoon from which Christ will emerge reborn.